So one of the things about first fruit, of course, today we are celebrating first fruit, and I always say that if you can only kind of, I know some of you are very busy and you have to work on Sunday, etc. But first fruit is something that you don't want to miss, because every time you come here, and today's worship is just great, because when people are willing to hear the voice of God, that's the whole purpose of first fruit. You are here because you understand there is a way, there is a better path, and do you want to be part of it? And I just feel like this is a season where that kind of decision, that kind of consideration will become stronger and stronger. It's like God is separating the sheep from the goat. We have been saying that for years, but this is really the time that it's going to happen more and more. And many of us are going to face with that reality. So for this month of Tammuz, by the way, happy Tammuz to everyone. So we are here to, now you see this word, you're like, oh, what the heck are you all teaching and things like that. But there is the concept of giving God the best, not just in terms of money, but in terms of worship, in terms of emotions. We have been talking about building for a long time, right? And today I was just driving, because we had to drop stuff first, just driving along here, and I realized a lot of shops are being renovated. Do you realize that around here? A few shops, including downstairs, next door. So people are building because it's time to start businesses. It's time to start an enterprise. What about you today? Have you been building, or have you been just kind of relaxed, still in pandemic mode, still in work from home mode? So some people are like that, but it is time we shift from building, from foundation to building. So later on, 2 p.m., we're going to have Tribe Advancing School. We're going to talk about that also. If you have not registered, I think you can just walk in, right? I think you can just walk in, no need to register already. So if you're here today, all of a sudden you feel like you wanted to join us, 2 p.m., here. All right, so just very quickly, the time that we're in the second half of 5782, and second half is very important because we talk about foundation for so long. It is time to build. We have to have that kind of prophetic processing. So later on, I think it's after Tribe Advancing School, we have the prophetic activation. If you really find like you needed that kind of practice, you needed that company of prophets to encourage you, then you really want to go there. This is a season we have to go next level. Everyone says next level. So why is next level? Your next level is different from your friend's next level. Your next level basically means it's different from last season. It should be better than last season. But what I really want to focus today is we have to shift from foundation to building. So it's like you see a piece of land, the foundation is set. Now is the time to build something. Now is the time to start something. Of course, the whole decade of pay, we need to have that harvest mentality. We need to see that everything that happens has a purpose in terms of advancing the kingdom of God. So some of you, of course, yesterday was such an exciting day for those in the intercessory movement because of the overturning of Roe. You all should just begin to read about that because it concerns. Now, it's not a hyperbole to say 1973, when Roe came into existence, it created a worldwide demonic force that allows child sacrifice to be used as a way to advance the kingdom of darkness. It's not a hyperbole to say that. So that's why we are where we are today. I just find it very interesting that I don't really see a lot of reaction. I don't see a lot of response here in Malaysia. Maybe people don't even realize what it is. But yesterday I was just in a coffee shop. I was sitting down there, and that table, sometimes you hear people are talking, right? So it's like a college girl talking to her high school sister and parents, and she was talking about Roe. She was talking about the Second Amendment. And of course, everything is kind of spoken from Malaysian perspective, Malaysian education perspective, but people are hearing. People are realizing what is happening, and there's going to be a determination of what is right and what is wrong. Because God has a standard, right? We follow a standard. We don't live in a morally ambiguous world. We don't say you can do whatever you want to do. There's no such thing as you can do whatever you want to do without consequences. That's why I really want to encourage all of you to join our A Time to Be Set Free. We haven't done that for I don't know how many years already. 2 years. Okay, 2 years. 2 years on site. It used to be I don't know how many times per year. It's like uncountable. Okay, that's not even good English. And so you really need to come again yourself, but bring your friends, because if you're confident, it's very simple. If you're confident that it will help people, you should invite them. If you're not confident, then don't invite people. It's very simple, okay? So here we are, first fruit. We call it Time to Advance. Many of you have the book Time to Advance. It's always good to read. Now remember, first fruit is not a legalistic event. So we can celebrate first fruit however we want, because there is freedom. But one of the main reasons is we want to come to a place where we can advance. So every time after first fruit, you need to review the subsequent month. Are you advancing? Are you prospering? Because the first thing about first fruit is that we are celebrating the extravagance. That means the goodness of God. You see, one of the things that we need to understand from the get-go, we can never outgive our God. So that's why when we give first fruit, it's not like, oh, it's so difficult to give and things like that. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about time. I'm talking about emotion. I'm talking about submission, all the things. So many people have challenges in giving their time. So it's going to be one of the big tests. Now, the other thing about first fruit, and I always love when Apostle Chuck Pierce described this, is we give even before if we know we have enough. Now, of course, some of you will be like, oh, what does that mean? He said, I don't live. You know, some people live paycheck to paycheck, but a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm financially secure. This doesn't apply to me. But what about your time? What about your trust? What about your emotions? Are you going to say, I let God take care of all the challenges that I'm facing right now? Maybe my personal life, maybe my family life. So first fruit becomes an ultimate testament of our faith. We talk about heavenly portal. That's why it's great to be on site, you know, as we reflect on 2 years of online, 2 years of on and off. Some of you never stop. Some of you are always around. And you know how that has caused you to grow, because you are so used to the presence of God. You are so used to the portal. You just don't want to miss being in the presence of God. Then, of course, first fruit, we are coming into certain cycles. And there are times where God will cause us to develop godly conscience. So this is one of the months. Tammuz is the month. You know, we look at many things. We look at the covenant alignment. We look at our emotion. We look at all these things that if we choose to cooperate with God, we can have a godly conscience. So very quickly, just let's look at the timing again. Remember the first 3 months, Passover to Pentecost, months of foundation, blessings, a lot of courage, because there has to be a courage to pass over. So many people didn't even get there. Then resources. Now, why is this important? Because you already have all those things. You already pass over. You already receive the blessings and the resources from God. So that's why we have to use what we receive the first 3 months to navigate the subsequent 3, which is Tammuz to Elul. It's time to build on the foundation. You can't just continue to create foundation. It's time to build something on the foundation. It's time to reap the fruits. It's months of deliverance now. One of the things, and I'm going to talk about a bit later, is sometimes when people think about deliverance, you know what's their mindset? They'll be like, oh, I need to focus on deliverance. And because of that, I don't need to have any fruits. I don't need to have any advancement. I don't need to have any successes. What I want to tell you today, what I want to encourage you today is that even in the midst of deliverance, you can have prosperity. So it's like 2 by 2, hand by hand. Then, of course, the month of Tammuz, we're talking about continual progress. We're talking about adjustment. We're talking about covenant. Basically, at the end of the day, and it just kind of reminds me of what we did just last week, right? We did the courtship thing, right? We did the BGR thing. Really, this is a question to us. Are we really desiring the things of God? It's very simple. It's what is our heart? What is our passion? Okay, so Tammuz. Welcome to the month of Tammuz. Say hello, Tammuz, to your neighbor. Tammuz sounds like, I don't know, some Persian language, right? And it's a month of choices. You choose many things. You choose whether you want to be here. You choose whether you want to join certain things. And you choose what food to bring. You choose if you're going to visit our cafe later. Promotion. Anyway, but out of the choices, every time you make choices, you know what happens? Your conscience is developed. So it either become more godly or it become more devilish. So one of the things, of course, you always have to see are world events. If you read the news, I highly encourage you to read the news now, because very interesting about the overturning of Roe, because we are I was just kind of showing people articles from CNN, from Politico, all these left-wing crazy publication, but all of a sudden, their mood was somber. You know what is somber? It's like very serious because they know they have been given a big smack in the face. So even the way they wrote, not very arrogant, they were like a bit kind of like, let's move on. It's game over. So it's very interesting that when you see the reactions, that kind of points us to the development of conscience. What are we really seeing, okay? So remember, if we had chosen right in the previous 3 months, we always say from Passover, beginning Nisan, the first 3 months, if we laid the foundation right, then all of a sudden, we allowed light to radiate. You see, that's the purpose, right? You see the alphabet of Tammuz. It is light coming out from your eyes. Jesus say, a good eye will produce good light, right? Remember he said that? And that's talking about our conscience. When you have great conscience, people look at your face, they can tell. So look at your neighbor's face now. And say, you have a good conscience. You are going to radiate light. Okay, not the BGR courtship light, okay? But it's a holy conscience light. But of course, that is fine, okay? Okay, better see who you are sitting with, okay? Anyway. So the thing is, now, every time we do this kind of teaching, people will ask, what if? What if? People like to ask, what if? It's like, go and watch the Marvel What If show. Okay? Now, what if is like, they say, what if I kind of wasted 3 months? That's always a question. Now, the only thing I can say to you is, if you choose to change at any point in time, God can do it for you. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know how fast you can repent, but people can just change in one moment, their whole life is fixed. As in, their direction is right. Maybe the consequences can take years. So just think about the role decision again. When that happens, what is the positive things? Immediately, Christians begin to say, we're going to fight this. So one of the most prominent guys is a Catholic, Father Pavon. Some of you know him. And he was supposed to be the next cardinal of New York. Can you imagine that? Cardinal is very high ranking. And all of a sudden, he told his boss, the existing cardinal, and say, send me into the pro-life movement. So from there, he was fighting until today. So he founded an organization called Priests for Life. They were fighting for life. So it's very interesting that all of a sudden, if people make a decision, then they go into the right path. Of course, it can take years and years sometimes to undo something major. Conscience. How do we develop it? It's very simple. It's by allowing the Spirit of God. So there is a Spirit of God. If you're a believer today, the Spirit of God and your spirit sits inside you. But they're always having conflict, right? Apostle Paul talked about it. The things I want to do, I don't do. The things I don't want to do, I kept doing. So that's the thing. There is that thing. But when you allowed God's Spirit to have a say, slowly you go into the godly conscience. The thing about conscience, and here's a keyword, and it's in John 15 and 17. Remember when Jesus kind of had the final teaching before he went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he was telling them, look, you have to abide. Abide. Everyone says abide. Abide means you allow. Abide means you submit. It means you go under. You see, more love is not going to help you. More emotion is not going to help you. More desire is not going to help you. You have to go down. You have to abide. And every time the Spirit of God, remember the Spirit of God is quiet, it's clear, but it's quiet. But the moment you say no, it will go off. And then it's like when the alarm rings, you press a snooze. Some of you, have you seen your alarm? It's like snooze number 5. So let me give you a suggestion, okay? Don't put such a short amount of time. If 5 minutes is not enough, put 10 minutes. It's like, come on, who are you kidding? If you want to wake up a bit early so you can sleep another 45 minutes, fine. Just set your alarm. I mean, I see some people, they snooze 8 times. After 40 minutes, they're like, I'm so still tired. Of course you're tired, you snooze 8 times for 5 minutes. Not very smart. So that's the thing with God, that we can snooze him, we can kind of put him to the side, but don't do it, because Jesus said if we do that, eventually we can't even feel the Spirit of God. You see, we kind of consign him. So that's why another thing about this month is we have to determine our covenant alignment. Now, the focus on alignment started the month before because remember, Miriam and Aaron challenged Moses. But this is a bit different. This is really talking about who do you want to walk with. And that's why it's so great that we're doing teaching on courtship. And actually, I think about it, we talk about courtship for so long, at the end of it, it's very simple. Do you want to do it? Your choice. It's very simple. And it's okay to say you make choices based on what you think the person is, their family, etc. It's okay, it's fine. But you have to decide who you want to covenant, who you want to walk in the long haul. Okay, so are we walking in alignment in the following matter? So talk about alignment on a different level, okay? So there's the first personal alignment. And by the way, there is an alignment with yourself, with your own identity, with your own destiny. Because so many people are not embracing their identity, right? It's like they're supposed to do this, but they look at, oh, my friend ABC, so great, I want that. So that's the thing, when you do that, you are not in alignment with your identity. You're causing your destinies to be blocked. Because without your identity, the destinies cannot come out. So that's why don't look around, don't have that envious eye, you know the envious eye? The red eye, no, the green eye. The red eye, the yellow red eye is the sixth eye, okay, different. Okay, I've been watching too much Obi-Wan. But anyway, so that's the thing. You allow that identity to come out. Otherwise, destinies will be gone. Then, of course, there's an alignment at tribe level. Am I walking alongside the people that Jesus had personally placed me with? 1 Corinthians 12, remember Jesus said, He has placed each one of us in the body. There are certain people around you, I said this many times already, you don't even really have to like the person. But you have to be able to say, look, we are here together, we're somehow stuck here together because God placed us and we're going to do it. Then, of course, in the tribe alignment, we are also asking this question, am I expressing my gift? So it's linked with the personal identity in such a way that allows my personal destiny to manifest, that causes my tribe to advance also. So that's very important to us. Then, of course, at a corporate level, am I responding to the leading of the Spirit of God concerning His inheritance? Because sometimes people look at nations, people look at discipling of nations, they will, oh, too big, not my thing. No, there is a portion that you play. Because when Jesus gave the command in Genesis 1:28, in Matthew 28, He is not saying, oh, some of you are called to be fruitful and multiply. No, He's saying all of you. And He's not saying some of you are called to disciple nations. He's saying all of you. So that's why there is that corporate alignment that we have to be aware of. All right, so how should we respond in this month? Because, usually when we come to Tammuz, Av, and Elu, and people are kind of like, I don't know, it's like they feel a bit negative, okay? Because the summer months, typically the months linked with deliverance. Now, by the way, deliverance is good. Talk to your neighbor. Say, deliverance is good. It is always good because why? Why? It is the grace of God. Every time, you see, why do you need deliverance? Because you manifest. Right? Why you manifest? Because something has to be exposed that allows a filtering, allows a cleansing, allows a removal. So the process of deliverance points to stress points and cracks. That means there are certain things that are already happening. And then all of a sudden, you're driving one day and your car roof is leaking. So this how radiator boiling, Tina. So I like the Chinese expression the best. You know what? Sui gun. Last time my nanny said, oh, my car is sui gun. I was like, what is sui gun? The radiator went bust. She said, oh. Because really, the water come out and you can't drive anymore. Your engine will overheat. So that's the thing. All these things are stress points. So I'm glad you all have this kind of dream. Because it shows that we are at this kind of point, if we allowed God, if we allow the counsel from the Lord, it will cause a restoration of the breach. But you see, FIC is really, a time to be set free is great because we learn about breaches, we learn about open door, we learn about legal rights, and all those things are applicable to tribe level, applicable to issue of national level. It's the same principle. Spiritual warfare is the same. All the different levels are the same. It's just the demons are bigger, the issues are bigger, okay? So we talked about role and weight a few times already, but when you think about it, what is a stress point? It started off in the 60s, free love movement. Remember free love movement? Most of us are not even born there. Some of you, maybe some of us. Then of course, Roe versus Wade in 1972. How many people are born in 1972 here? Okay, maybe Kevin and May, but very few people. Most of us are not. So it's like, it starts with a few things. The free love movement, the liberal agenda, and then here's the killing point. They took prayer out from school. That's the beginning of the end. So how is it possible you have so many conservative justices and you get a 7-2 decision, which is unbelievable? So that's why many people have said, that should say that it was a national curse. So that curse is being lifted, but the work is far from that. But it's very, very excited. You know, it's like, I just want to keep on reading, but so tired already, I had to say. But it's like, that's the thing. When you have such a passion, you know that God is doing something that a lot of people think are quite unthinkable, even a few years ago. So that's why when you have these kind of things happening, when you have a breach, then you have a call for believers to step into the breach. Now, the repairs of breach can take a long time. We already mentioned about Roe. It took 50 years, right? 50 years of intense spiritual warfare. Then we think about Jerusalem, right? Jerusalem, of course, when they were taken over by the enemy, they went into exile. The prophetic words was 70 years, they will be back. But when they came back, they couldn't restore the walls for another 70 years until Nehemiah came back. So 150 years, that's a long time, right? So sometimes we think, what are the breaches? We have done a few spiritual warfare walk around Malaysia, and we know the breaches are big, are massive. But that's the thing, we have to believe that those breaches can be repaired. That's why Tammuz, I'm so glad the prophetic voice today, even Judah today, is very much aligned with this. It is a month to watch out for such breaches. And this is the month of golden calf. Remember golden calf? And by the way, a lot of people don't realize that the golden calf actually started the breach. Before that, you have Miriam and Aaron, then you have golden calf, then you have Korah, then you have the 10 spies, then you have Israel forfeiting their destiny. It's all linked. They don't suddenly decide we don't want to go into the promised land. I mean, who will be so crazy, right? If God said, I'm going to give you land, I'm going to give you cities, you want it or not? Real estate. Who doesn't want real estate? Free building. Not even free shopping mall, free cities. So I give you Puchong today. I give you PJ today. Okay, don't say Klang Valley. Even outside Klang Valley cities, you want it, right? You want it? Even Ulu Kapi, you want, right? So that's the thing. It's like, that's the promises given, but somehow, because of all these things, started off with the golden calf, started off with Miriam and Aaron, it led to Israel forfeiting their destiny. So, with all these things say, how do we balance deliverance and personal advancement? Because remember, I already say that sometimes when people think about deliverance, they think like, oh, I need to focus on myself, you know. And that's why sometimes I see some people after deliverance, they'll be like, oh, I cannot serve God. I don't have time because I need to focus on myself. Ever heard that? That's wrong teaching. Everyone says wrong teaching. Because even though deliverance is what we call introspective, you look at yourself, it requires an honest look. These days, when people understand their true issues, it's so easy, right? You don't have to hunt down them. You don't have to go to the room and whack them and things like that. That's the old deliverance. So we do teaching. We ask them to look at themselves. If they realize they want to repent. But here's the thing. The quicker we accept the reality of the breaches, the sooner we can be delivered from the attached curses. And so many testimony. In fact, one of the most interesting testimony was Chuck Pierce's wife, Pam Pierce, when their twins died, remember? And the next day she said, she's like, okay, I want to move on. I'm worshiping. And some people, her friends, have issue with it. Why are you not mourning? So sometimes you have people die in your family, and all of a sudden you want to move on. People say, why are you not mourning? And that's so self-righteous, right? That's so religious. But then she said, the quicker you accept the reality and move on, the faster you are healed. So that's why I want to say that deliverance is important. Some of you need to go through a process. I remember years ago, even in Australia, and there is this movement, say that, oh, it's very difficult to forgive people. And some Christians even teach, don't need to forgive. Because they say, emotionally you can't do it. But it's like, what kind of teaching is that? Because if you say don't need to forgive, you are causing people to stuck at one point in history. So crazy, right? So that's why the quicker you accept, and doesn't matter what have been done to you, the faster you can move on. You accept the reality of the breaches. So that's why we cannot just focus on the deliverance aspect, because at the same time, we have to build, at the same time, we have to advance. Because remember, 5782 is coming to an end, right? It's the last 3 months already. They are prophetic promises, building the house of the Lord for the future. Have you built your house? Do you have something to show? I'm not asking you to give you a question, answer. I'm asking you to think. If you have not built something, this is the time. You have 3 more months to do it. So that's why I cannot just say I need deliverance and just chuck everything away. Okay, so that's the kind of balance that we are seeking in this month. So very quickly, let's talk about 5782, a very quick recap. It is a year we're supposed to have the house of the Lord for the future that is being built. That's why we're focusing so much on building and foundation. Next year, we're not going to talk about so much about that, because there is the seasonal move of the Spirit of God. What is the purpose? We want to build a house so that we are able to contend with the future warfare. 2020 passed over. I remember Apostle Chuck Pierce say, why are we having this pandemic? It's because God is causing the ecclesia to develop strength for the future. So that's why it's the same. When you build the house, you are preparing for major warfare. You're preparing for some kind of attack, some kind of some kind of campaign for God. What is the purpose? We establish a good foundation, so hopefully the first 6 months of 5782 you have done that, and then the subsequent 6, now only left 3. We are building. Everyone say building. Because it's so important we build, because we are in for kingdom contention. Kingdom contention meaning there is that fight between good and evil. You want to be part of it. It's like, you imagine you go to a war campaign and you're a soldier. You know, those days, in the early days, the war, the government don't really give you weapons one. I'm talking about the cowboy era. So you go there, what happened? You want to fight? What's your weapon? You bring your own weapon. You bring your own bullets. So if you go there empty-handed, you know what they say? Gappy. You go and mop the floor. You go and chop the wood because you cannot fight. So that's why are we building the house? So that we have something to fight. You have some kind of resources. You have some kind of knowledge. You have some kind of understanding. You have the micro churches or whatever things God asks you to do. It's very important. Otherwise, how do you fight? You go to the marketplace, people look at you, they laugh at you. So that's why you need to understand there is that contention there. You go to a place, but you know you have a base. You have built the house that can push. So we are in that season of building right now, 3 more months. What about the timing? Because we are entering and finishing the 3rd year of pay. Remember, the 3rd year of pay is at the 3rd year of the reign of Cyrus. Daniel just experienced such a tremendous warfare. That's why we did an introduction to angel. We do all kinds of things to prepare people, because the warfare will intensify. Then, of course, we step one back. We look at the entire pay decade. We're in the midst of perhaps the most intense warfare. So it's very interesting, right? After Roe decision was announced, Chuck Pierce just had a very short point, and he said, now is the time that the war will intensify, he said. The war will intensify greatly, because that's what is happening. You cannot reason with demons. Here's the thing that we need to understand. You cannot reason with demons. And that's also a lesson for us here in Malaysia right now. We can't reason with certain people, and we just have to find a way to get rid of them. So remember, we talk about the whole year, right? 5782, from the month perspective, it starts at Passover, right? Nisan 5782. But the year already kind of started 6 months before. So remember, Passover to Pentecost, we always say that if we are not careful, those seasons kind of fly through us. So all of a sudden, you don't realize where the time went. Yeah, we went to 2 regional gatherings, fly there, do all the touristy things also, etc., etc. But if we don't focus, we miss this tremendous opportunity to build. So that's why, again, to emphasize, Tammuz, Av, Elul, even though they are months strongly associated with deliverance, the time is now for us to build. Now, just a few things about building. We've been talking about building for a long time, but just a few short points. See, the thing about building, the first thing is we have to be willing to count the cost. We have to accept the budget. So when you renovate a house, right? So it's like, I want A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H until Z. All the things I want. Then look at the budget. Oh. Okay, cut this. So eventually you have to accept a budget. That's true for everything. But the way when you do courtship is the same. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I want all the things. It's like, then it's like, oh, you're in la la land. There's no human can satisfy you. Okay, I can give up on this, I can live with this. So eventually you find a budget that, I know we use the word budget, but that is the reality of courtship, don't you think? The whole exercise is for you to kind of weigh all the good points and bad points and see, okay, is it possible for me to live with this person for the next 50, 60 years? And this is something covenant, right? You can't change. So building, the most important thing is you count the cost. Jesus said that a few times already. Have you counted your cost? Then the next thing about building, once you have the money, once you have the budget, is you have to ask who are willing to partner with you. You have to find the kingdom people. And really this is what we call the tribe alignment. You have to find people that will war with you, that will fight with you, that will not kind of drop you off, You know, some people will just drop you when things are hard. But of course, the most important thing about building is, what are we building? Are we building something that would stand the test of fire and then it becomes a reward in heaven? Or would it be like what Apostle Paul said, everything you build has been destroyed, but you yourself is safe? So I always remember Rick Joyner, when he wrote about his book, he has a 3-series book, he went to heaven. Very, very interesting. But he saw a very, very prominent guy from the Reformation era. A super famous guy. He won't say the name. And the guy was in heaven. He was saved. But the guy told him that, I lost all my reward. I myself is safe. And that's why I'm here, like a few 100 kilometers. You know, when they were in the throne room, he said the feeling, they say, it's like a few 100 kilometers away, God. You feel the presence of God, but it's not like the heavy presence of God. So it's very interesting. What's the book called? Final Quest. Such a great book, and it's I do encourage you because it has so much to do with end times. It is meant to encourage us to fight the fight, okay? So regardless of what will happen, the kingdom must manifest in everything that we do. Okay, so a few things that we want to focus on Tammuz, and I'm not going to have too many side points here, but just a major theme for you. We already mentioned the godly conscience, it has to arise. So that means there is that cooperation. Every day you'll be kind of confronted with, do I want to follow the ways of God or do I want to follow the ways of the world? Covenant alignment. Why do we need covenant alignment? Remember we talk about at the personal level, at the tribe level, at the corporate level. You see, all these are for us to go into the breach. Everyone says breach. So when you want to go and fight, you know, breach is like what Jesus said in Matthew 16, the gates of Hades will not overcome you. See, that's why I like all the things that are being shared today by the prophetic team, It's like climb a mountain, and diesel, I never even thought about diesel, okay? Or things like, suikun or whatever. All these kind of things that happen is because you are going to hell to fight. It's not a catwalk. It's not a picnic. You better find the right partners, otherwise they will abandon you. That's why, I'm serious. Have you done project with people who are not of the same heart and same mind, and all of a sudden they say, I'm out? Happens all the time. In business, in courtship, even in kingdom work. Of course, then we want to finish 5782 with a new sound of pain. Now, that's one of the things that another person was prophesying, that there has to be a new sound because new sound break old cycle. Now, the sound, of course, can be the worship sound, can be a sound of declaration, can be a sound of righteousness and justice. It can be all this kind of sound. Then, of course, Tammuz focus. We are being free, experiencing deliverance, but at the same time, we are building. So it's like hand in hand. You don't stop building, but you don't stop getting deliverance because it's so important for us to focus. Okay, So just going to finish off with a few more slides. So this is a month of journey, okay? So we are not talking about we are coming to a place, we're coming to the top of a mountain where we can just relax. It is not, it is a month of journey. The decisions we make in this month will impact us for months and years to come. Now remember Sivan, just the previous month, it was described as a month of course, right? So certain months, you do certain things that will affect the subsequent months. Whereas for other months, you kind of reap the benefits or you reap the curses of what you have done. Okay, so this is the difference. But Tammuz is really both. It's a month of course because certain things you do here will affect the future. But at the same time, we are also seeing the results of certain decisions, especially the first 3 months. Whatever that you have done or not done, it will become obvious. That's why I want to remind everyone again, when people ask the question, what if I squander the first 3 months? I say it's not too late. I say it's not too late because first fruit is consider it a time of reset. Have you played game, right? You know, some game you play is like if you play a strategy game, some strategy game you cannot just restart very easily. Like you play for 40 hours, and all of a sudden you realize you can't win. Have you ever come to that kind of realization? So some of the games are very difficult. Like the last serious game I played was probably XCOM 2, okay? And I wasn't paying attention, I was just doing my thing, and all of a sudden after 20 hours I realized, oh crap, didn't do this. And what to do? It's very hard. So what do? You reset, you play a new game. So that's why first fruit is always a time you reset. If you cannot continue anymore, you start once again. That's why we always do communion on first fruit, because everything we teach, basically it's an invitation to you. Do you want to submit all these things to God? If yes, then it will happen. So remember the last 3 months, very quickly, Nisan, Passover, we had to make a choice to leave the past. Leave the past. So many people are stuck in the past. Iyar, we chose to receive new revelation because you can't rely on stale revelation. And you can't say, 20 years ago God spoke to me. That may have been great, but you need fresh revelation. Then Sivan. Of course, Sivan, all the word, all the prosperity. But you see, the most important thing I feel for Sivan is, are we developing a new giving strategy? And I'm not just talking about money. I'm talking about all aspects of our life. Our time, our emotion. Are we able to do that properly? So, going back again to Sivan, somehow, this is very strange. Usually when I do first fruit, I don't even bother about what I teach last month. But this time I just felt like God wanted me to kind of think about Sivan a bit, because there is a link, okay? Because so many people, I realized that so many people started off the Hebrew month so well. Passover, very gung-ho, right? Oh, we go here, we go there, and then Pentecost, very, very nice. But after that, somehow the last 3 months, they struggle. I see that pattern all over again, okay? So that's why, again, you go back 1 month before. That was the beginning of the Word of God saying we need to look at our alignment relationship, because Miriam and Aaron challenged Moses at that month, okay? So coming to this month, what's happening now? We have to make decisions. Everyone say decision. So there are things you have to decide, okay? Concerning what? Your covenant alignment. So covenant alignment is what? Who do you shake your hands? So who do you say, let's work together? And who do you unshake? By the way, you can unshake, do you know that? Just like you go to social media you can unlike, right? Unfollow. In fact, one of the things I realized, the trend now, it used to be when you unfollow, you say, the person won't know. Nowadays, people just unfollow in your face. Because they want you to know I'm leaving. To have that kind of impact. Seriously, that's the social media trend now. They want people to know. You better not miss me too much. That kind of thing. So that's the thing. And in fact, that's proper understanding of alignment, because you shouldn't be like, okay, I don't want to be friendly with you now, but I'm still like stalking your posts or things like that, So I think that's not very good. And so when it comes to covenant alignment, we have to be very firm. What voice, or rather from whom, are you going to get your counsel going forward? So there will be that competing voices. Those in your covenant alignment, you should be hearing and receiving feedback more from these people rather than those who are not. That's why it goes back again to the whole theme of the pay decade. is we're going to see the competing voices, the red dragon and the lion of Judah. It's going to happen again and again. So every cycle. So with covenant alignments, you want to pay attention to all kinds of things. Your business direction, your investment, even your courtship. Yeah, I know you find it very weird why I keep on talking about courtship, but because it's the same. It is, how do you want to align? Can two work together unless they first agree? That's the Bible say, right? It applies to all the things, your business, your investment, your BGR relationship. If you have the right covenant alignment, what it will do, it will create synergy, it will create power, it will create strength. But if you have the wrong covenant alignment, so in the Bible we saw a very bad alignment, 1 Kings 22, Jehoshaphat and Ahab. Can you imagine? So a lot of time people look at Jehoshaphat and say, oh, this king is so great, usher in the worship. But do you know that he kind of shake hands with Jehoshaphat? And by the third generation, his entire line is ruined. Hey, it can ruin a nation. A lot of people don't talk about this because they want to worship on the worship part. Yes, he did a tremendous worship and things like that. That's why here's another thing. Worship, you know, so many times people worship and say they're in the presence of God, but that's where the sin also happened. That's why we are seeing such a big, tremendous scandal, if you can say, we worship things all around the world all the time. Because remember, Lucifer was the ultimate worshipper, right? Because of that, everyone look at them and say, oh, you are so nice, you are so pretty, you are so wonderful. Pride kind of rushes up. So that's why anyone who is in this kind of public role, the key is really to find that humility. Now, humility doesn't mean you pretend to be weak and things like that, but you know your true self in God. So when we talk about covenant alignment, it's very simple. We're asking a few questions. Is there the same heart and mind to honor the Lord? Is there the same goal to say we want to honor God? Is there a similar passion? And this is the area that we're not talking about right or wrong, but we're talking about good or better. Because, yeah, I mean, if you don't have the same passion, can you get married together? Maybe can, but it's like, then it will be very boring, right? So you have to be at least some kind of passion, and not just, I'm not talking about preference, I'm not talking about food, I'm talking about the holidays. I'm talking about, do you have the same passion for kingdom of God? God's requirement, of course, is just an opposite gender. God's requirement, of course, is just this person cannot have been married before. It should be a believer. But even all those things, when you check, there is still that passion test you have to ask. See, covenant alignment, the key is not liking and being comfortable. You see, so often we look at our comfort, you know, how do I feel? I mean, that can be a good thing, but the question to ask, I already mentioned it earlier, is will this person go out? Will this person war with me when everything is in deep trouble? You know, when you're in deep shit, is that person going to come out and help you? Yeah, seriously, I mean, that's the right way to describe it, right? We are being very direct here, okay? And so, are we united by our passion for the kingdom? I mean, that's another way to ask the same question. All right, finish already. So, conclusion. So anyway, I just want to mention that all the teaching on buildings, foundations, and even the Tribe Advancing School, we're going to focus on that. So these 6 months, for the rest of 2020, we're just going to focus on that because we want people to really kind of just discover your identity and go all out, okay? So let's talk about the conclusion. So Tammuz is a key month in 5782. Why? Because it is a month where we are linking the good foundation to kingdom building. So we're not just foundation, because too much foundation without building is also a waste. It's time to build. It's a month of deliverance, but also opportunity to build. So do encourage everyone to come back and bring all the people that they're supposed to be here, because when they are shifted from a deliverance point of view, it is just so easy. We have to watch very carefully. See, watching is not enough. You watch and you decide the right covenant alignment. See, when I think about the budget, you know, count your costs. And you know, this is a time, right? All the football seasons have ended, right? Now, if you ever play football game, the football managing game, These are the time you like the most because, let's see how much money I have, who can I sign and things like that. Those of you who play football management, you know signing play is like the most fun part, right? So this is what's happening right now. They're talking about monies and dollars and sign and things like that. So it's like, how much are you investing? How much are you putting worth into certain projects that will really decide your future? So we have to watch very carefully. We have to decide and make sure that the people we chose to align are going to be the right people. Then we talk about conscience, okay? Because conscience can be good and bad. You see, sometimes people think, oh, it's just a neutral kind of thing. It's just who you are. No, it's not who you are. It's really the little steps you chose. And when you say, I want to be someone that really radiates the light, so it's like the eyes are shiny, you know. So by the way, that will cause you to be more, what's the right word? They will cause you to be more attractive in terms of courtship selection. I'm just going to leave it at that. So, how do you get superior conscience? You need to be willing to be adjusted. Qiao, you know qiao? Qiao is what language? Is it Chinese? It's not Chinese, I think. It's dialect, right? You need to be willing to be fixed, to be tinker. Okay, all those words, not as good as qiao, right? Qiao is the best. So that's the thing. You have to be willing to be tuned. Tammuz, already mentioned, is a month of both cause and consequences. We are already reaping the consequences, all the benefits. You see, everything is depending on how you look at it. You say consequences, oh, I kind of squandered the first 3 months, but it could be the benefits, it could be the blessings. Because you chose Passover, you chose to trust the Lord, all of a sudden you are already reaping the benefits. But let me just say this, because it's a month of cause, it is not too late. And God will show you how to redeem time. And so if we do that, we can get free and being victorious. So it's a very simple kind of message. And that's why we want to end today with communion. So we have the communion ready, right? First of all, it's very simple. It's like God showing us there is a superior way. If you agree with this superior way, then it's time to say, we will break bread, we will drink the wine with God because we agree. We agree with this relationship. We agree with this covenant. We agree with this transaction. You are entering a contract every time you take communion. So I'm being legal here right now, right? But it's true. It's so true. It's like nobody can force you. So it reminds me of a story I said a few times already. These are the time, you know, when we were in students those days, how do you get people to come to hear about the gospel, things like that? I mean, you use food, right? You try to do food, you try to have gathering. And so we did that. And then one guy, he wanted free food, but then he was like, you can't force me. Force you to do what? You can't force me to be a Christian. Nobody is forcing you to be a Christian. It's like we're just being friends and things like that. Then you decide. And that's so important, right? You don't force people to a covenant. You don't force people to say, you must follow the ways of God. No. You make a choice today. You choose whether you want to covenant with God today. So if you are watching online, you can take your own emblem also, join communion with us. By the way, you can take communion as often as you want. It's not a religious kind of thing. You can do it for healing. You can do it for covenant. When you decide certain things, you want to seal it, you can do it. But we do it once a month on first fruit because we are saying that, Lord, you have visited us, you gave us a way forward, and we want to agree and honor you. So remember Jesus said this, right? Do this in remembrance, but really in remembrance is like in honor, in agreement, in a decision to say, I want to walk with God. I mean, it's very simple, and yet it's very significant, okay? So if that's you today, then feel free to go for it.